Are you a beginner 3D artist early in your journey? You have still so much to learn. You see you have so much to learn, or you're struggling so much, or perhaps you're an intermediate 3D artist, maybe even advanced, but you still have some gaps in your knowledge. You see you have some gaps, or you struggle with certain elements of the work we do. That's exactly what I want to talk about in this video, specifically studies and why we should all really apply them more. But before I go into that, my name is Robert. I've been a 3D artist for 22 years already, where the last 8 I've been running my and our art studio, Mesh Masters, where we've been doing client work, pretty much like freelancing, but with a small team. And especially this year, we've been adding a training and coaching component to Mesh Masters to really help you and our fellow 3D artists become creative professionals, help them in their career, and really become that pro 3D artist that they're aiming to become. Not only with topics like the art itself and the 3D elements as well, of course, but really more focused on the business of art. So topics like networking, what it means to getting hired, branding and your portfolio and how you step into the world, freelancing and finding clients, what it means to be that professional, so handling yourself in a studio setting or a production environment, and all these type of topics which, from my experience, many of us kind of lack. It's never really taught anywhere. It's not taught in schools. And so, especially with my last 8 years running a company and team, this is what I want to bring back or give back to the community and you. So if you're interested or if you're struggling with topics like these, make sure you head over to meshmasters.com or reach out to me on LinkedIn, Robert Berrier. And we also recently just pretty much transformed our old Discord production server into a community server, so you can ask more direct questions. So look those up if you're interested. However, for now, let's go back to the video, which is really about studies. And we all know that art studies is a very common thing in the traditional art space, the drawing and the painting. Especially for characters, anatomy, humans, it is so common to isolate a small element of our body, let's say the hand, and then you just do studies on them. You just do them over and over and over. You look at references, you do different poses and perspectives and angles. Maybe you will even isolate it more to a finger or a thumb. And doing that over and over and over is obviously exposing you to do a deep dive in all the nuances of the hand in this case, and immediately applying that. This seems like a no-brainer in the art world, but for some reason in the 3D art world, not a lot of people do this. People tend to focus on end projects, end results that are ready for the portfolio, for example. And of course, that's good. You should do that, but not employing studies or using that method it's like a waste. It's like you're missing an opportunity. So what I want to ask you is to do the same thing we see in the traditional arts and use it in your own 3D journey and career. And of course, that applies to, again, anatomy, especially if you are a character artist sculpting. Go sculpt hands or heads or noses or eyes or ears and learn. But it also applies to other elements like materials. It's so often to see beginner work, and it's a finished piece, it's cool, but for example, the materials and the texturing is not there. So study that. Do a tiny little object. Let's say, instead of doing a full weapon model, take a piece like the silencer, a simple silencer, that goes on the beginning of the weapon, and make it quickly, like the modeling part. Choose something simple so you can make it quickly, and then really go deep into the texturing and the materials. Look at references. Look at how in real life the materials reflect light, or perhaps the wear and tear on them. And really study them, understand the real life materials, or maybe in references from other people that made them in 3D, and then apply them to your version or study of it. And then go and explore, because you already have that object, so you could explore one that's more clean, one that's more dirty, and another that's more weared down, and really try to aim for that high quality look. And that's a perfect way to learn textures and materials. You can do the same with rendering and lighting and camera positions. Take a small object and just explore different lighting setups, explore different ways of presenting the work. And you can see, if you just keep doing this over and over and over for all these different elements, especially the elements you're weak at, wouldn't that really boost your learning journey so much faster than aiming on a finished piece that's probably going to take you a month or maybe 2 months, depending on how much time you have to focus on doing the work? So again, I really want to ask you to employ doing studies. They can take a couple of hours, maybe max a day, depending on what you're doing. Especially when you're sculpting, it can be like an hour a day. But even if you're not sculpting, and like I said, you're doing that sort of material study, once you have an object, you can still just use it over and over and do a study a day or a couple of times a week, and it will boost your learning journey so fast. A good example from my past is where I took a couple of random boxes, cubes in 3D, kind of clipped them into each other. So I had, I think, 3 different shapes or compositions of random boxes, like 3-4 cubes pushed into each other. And then I would drape a piece of cloth around it, which I then had to sculpt and add in folds to sculpt in folds. And I think I did some sculpting, and I think I did some just polymodeling. And that's just a great way to quickly learn how to do folds and how they should fall and look and feel real. And it's a great study. I never published it anywhere. Maybe in the beginning I did. It's not to show to people per se, it's just for you to learn. And then in the future, when you actually have a real project, you have already experienced doing folds. And that gives you confidence in the moment, you know how to do them better. So it's the best way, really. So I want to again employ you, do studies, keep them small and keep the learning fast. So I hope that helps. Like I said before, if you're interested around topics when it comes to like the business side of art, but also like the artistic side, like I said, these studies, we're also talking and tackling that, of course. And I recently, like for 2 months now, I've been running a boot camp where I onboard people in a 2-month training and coaching program where I do one-on-one training with you directly regarding the more theory side of the business of art. So how to do freelancing, getting hired, being that professional. But there's also a second track to it or component where together in the group, mostly you are going to make your new next highest quality portfolio piece, but then with the guidance of us and me, and you're doing that in the group, really to help you understand that process and get to like, that should be like your next art station high quality piece. So if you're interested, again, reach out to me on LinkedIn, robertberrier.com or Robert Berrier, or the website meshmasters.com, or join our Discord, and I will see you in the next one.